remittability of profits and dividends, they're 100% fully remittable. What does that mean? It means if you declare dividends, you're a foreign investor in Zimbabwe. By the way, Zimbabweans living in diaspora or non-resident Zimbabweans, we also treat you as foreign investors. When you have a business at home or when you want to come to invest back home, you're a foreign investor. So you want to remit your profits back here? Yes, fully remittable. There is no approval to be sought. Say I have submitted an application to Reserve Bank to remit. No. Just tell them because they know they've registered your investment, they know your investment is making profits, and you can just remit whether it's profits or there's dividends. And also when it comes to this investment stage, where perhaps you brought in 1 million and you made another million. So we say you can take out the 1 million you brought in, you can also take out the 1 million profit you did manage to make when you were operating in Zimbabwe. So Zimbabwe would have benefited because of employment, and GDP. Please continue. Right. One other area which Mr. Chinamo touched, but he was rushing, as I am doing now, is the 20 million US dollar, 20 million threshold. As a foreign investor, you can borrow offshore up to 20 million without seeking any approval from the central bank. You can go to the local banks, whether it's First Bank, it's HSBC, Australia, New Zealand Bank. You say, I'm borrowing to invest back home. We don't ask you to come to the Reserve Bank first and say, can I borrow? We will know because your bank in Zimbabwe will then just send a return to us to say, this business has borrowed from Australia, so when they want to repay the loan, they can freely do that. And that, all this policy which I was talking about, it's contained in the monetary policy statement of April 2025. It's a 77-page document, but we have also summarized it into 12 pages because we know we are very busy. You just want to browse through and just see what are the main issues. It's on our website as well. And the guidelines to authorized dealers and their clients as well, they can actually have access to that. That's how transparent we are. What we tell the banks, we also tell their clients that this is what we've told. Because sometimes you approach a bank, you're told one thing, you approach the Reserve Bank, you're told one thing, and get frustrated. So now, when we issue directives to the banks, we also put it on the website so that people can actually see what is going on. Yes, then in terms of the inflation rates, we used to be a hyperinflation country, but now we're in the single digits, as perhaps some of you are now aware. As from January, those are the inflation figures. They're all below 5%. We're even better than some of the so-called developed countries in terms of inflation. And these are not just cooked figures at that tall building. The IMF also comes in to audit us. They audit these figures, yes. When we expect the single-digit inflation figures to also up to the end of the year, this is our test year to ensure that we have passed the program. We are under a program, the IMF, the staff monitored program, where they monitor us for about 9 months. It's ending about September, October. So far, the structural benchmarks they've set for us, we've passed them all. For the first quarter, second quarter, we're going to the third quarter. Okay, you can proceed. So we have a stable exchange rate now. And why do we have a stable exchange rate? It's because we have increased the foreign currency receipts. They've increased from 7.3 billion last year, June, to 10.7 billion this year. So this is foreign currency in terms of exports. In terms of diaspora remittances, I'll also share with you figures for diaspora remittances, which have contributed to the 10.7 billion. Then, again, as from September 2024, you will also realize that our our exchange rate from what we call the willing buyer, willing seller foreign exchange market has been oscillating between 25 and 27. 1 US dollar to 25 ZiG to 27 ZiG. So what do we mean by willing buyer, willing seller? You go to the bank and say, I've got foreign currency and I want 30 is my exchange rate. A buyer will say, I want to buy at 29. So the average between 30 and 29 is what will be the weighted average exchange rate for transactions for that particular day. So this is done on a daily basis. Again, it's a system that we are improving in terms of transparency. IMF also has looked at it. Initially, they said, give us figures. We want to see how we are calculating. We give them. They come back again and say, okay, can you give one day for the whole month? We give them. And they are also satisfied with the way it is happening, but they've advised us perhaps to improve on the transparency in terms of calculating the exchange rate. Yes, I think the incentives have been spoken about. You can proceed. Proceed. The banking sector stability. Here in Australia, I think the commercial banks, they are about 90, around 90 for a 28, 29 million population. For an 18 million population in Zimbabwe, our commercial banks are about 17 that we have. And we have a microfinance institution, 327, and total 344 financial institutions. So when you come back to Zimbabwe, want to do business, you won't run short of banks. They are very financial institutions, 344, and they are all in good position. Okay, next. So when you look at the condition of the banks, you look what is called non-performing loans. So this, when a bank has issued a loan, people must pay back. So that percentage of non-payment customers should not be more than 5% in terms of the standard in standard region. For all our banks, we're at 2.6%. So we are below 5%, which means the banks are safe, sound, and robust. So the stability of our banks is a metric that even has been curated or it has been closed. You want to put money where it is safe. Okay, next. Right, on opening of foreign currency accounts with the domestic banks, you can open any foreigner can come and open a foreign currency account. Because we know that you are a foreign, so we can bring foreign currency into that account. So there's no restriction. Then others ask, what if I've got a company in Zimbabwe? Can I open an offshore account here in Australia? Yes, you can open, especially if you've borrowed from that bank, because they'll say, we want you to have an account with us so that we monitor how you are going to repay. We grant you the authority to do that. So we also allow foreigners to open an offshore account. The balances of the FCA, you can use them freely. You can import anything. There's no priority list. We used to have a priority list when we were controlling foreign currency allocations. They are no longer there. You import what you want. It's your money. We don't say, so you can't import, because that brings a lot of inefficiencies, the controls, that is. So there are no approvals. ZIG, as I've said, is freely tradable against major global currencies under the willing buyer, willing seller foreign exchange market. The central bank sometimes sell foreign currency because we get foreign currency from the exporters. Like when we export, exporters, they sell 30%, the great equivalent ZIG of that 30%. That's foreign currency which we build in the reserves, which we now sell again, so that, because why we do that is because you find that some banks do not have exporters or a portfolio of exporters, so which means they can't access foreign currency. So it's a more of a distributive effect that that foreign currency is now being able to be accessed by clients who are not exporters. Because if exporters just give their foreign currency, no one will access that foreign currency who is not an exporter. So the macroeconomic outlook is positive, and also the GDP growth rate of 5%. I'm sure those who follow global economics, IMF said the global GDP growth rate for this year is actually 3%. But in Zimbabwe, they've said it's 5%. So it shows how the economy of Zimbabwe is ticking. Then yourselves now, contribution to the national economy. You know, when you send the money, when people get that money, they have to declare what is this money for. So this is where we got to understand that most of the remittances are going for household expenses, education, infrastructure, sometimes even business investment, so the money that we send back home, and also some household expenses. We can proceed. Diaspora remittances from January to June. according to our statistics, is 1.5 billion. Out of the 10.7 billion, 1.5 billion. But we know that this is not the total. We know some money also gets go behind. But that's what Mr. Chinamo was saying, that it's not good to do that because you will miss the ability to remit back the money. Because you just send it, say just invest it there, but you won't be able to take it out because it was not registered. So we encourage you to register so that you'll be able to take out your profits and dividends or your disinvestment proceeds. And in terms, okay, you proceed. Yeah, in terms of the source markets, number one is UK with 31.9%, followed by South Africa, 31.6%, America 12%, Australia 6.4%, and Canada 2.2%. So you can actually see the itinerary of the minister. She's following where the Zimbabweans are so that she can talk to the Zimbabweans and encourage you so that you can come back home and invest. She's not begging you to do that, but she's advising you to do that so that you can make money. She's not the one who's going to make money. It's yourself going to make money. So, yeah, you just take note of that. Okay, you can proceed. So you've heard that we are also moving away from multiple currencies. Multiple currencies, we're using the denominated currencies. If you're in Zimbabwe, you've got Australian dollars, you can use them. What's the denominated currencies in Zimbabwe? You can use US dollars, you can use South African rand, you can use Botswana and Pula. So because of, it's only Zimbabwe that is doing that in SADC. It's not normal, but we need to be a normal economy. We could not be a normal economy because our inflation was very high. Now that our inflation is stabilized and it's below 10%, we now have to move towards a monocurrency. Now I think the question is, are we going to be forced to change our money? The answer is no. You're not going to be forced. If you want to keep your foreign currency, you keep it. You change it yes, and when you want to use it. But the law will only say bread is now being sold in Zig. So you go to the bureau to change or go to the bank, you change, and then you buy your bread in Zimbabwe. So that is the direction we are taking. And there's what we call conditions precedent before we transition to monocurrency. We have to build up reserves, which at the moment we're at 1.6 billion reserves, gold and foreign currency. It's important for a central bank to have reserves because that's what it uses to support its currency. That's what we're doing, that whenever there is really foreign currency in the market, then we say we are selling foreign currency to the banks so that foreign currency is available. So we need 3 to 6 months reserves for us to be sure that we can transition to the monocurrency. It's going to be market driven. I've talked of the 6 months, 3 to 6 months import cover. Also the foreign exchange transaction system, which I said we need to improve in terms of our transparency. I know we've got a lot of economists who ask us, so how do you calculate? They take a calculator and say, this bank is exchanged with this and that, and how did you come up to a weighted average exchange rate? So we now have a system that automatically even matches the bids and sellers' submissions for the determination of the exchange rate. A stable exchange rate, we are almost there. Also, the economy has to be resilient in terms of shocks. Shocks, we are talking of what happens on the global market. I'm sure we are now aware of the Strait of Hormuz. That's where our fuel comes from. We didn't know this term. What is the Strait of Hormuz? Sometimes those who did geography are aware of it, but those are shocks. So your economy, like in our case, when the Strait of Hormuz was closed, we didn't have much impact on the price of fuel because we had the reserves. That's the reason why we didn't have inflation spiking in Zimbabwe. So that can also be confirmed. You can proceed. I think I've talked about what happens when in a monocurrency situation. Those who have borrowed from banks or you have a contract where it's denominated in US dollars, it will still be denominated in US dollars when we are in monocurrency. What that means is that you don't lose value in terms of changing of the value of the local currency. So when you are paying, you you either agree that give me so much local currency, but the contract itself will be in foreign currency. I also know that some of you here in diaspora, you have got property in Zimbabwe where you are renting out, and you want that money also to come back here and perhaps use it here. You need just to submit a lease agreement to your bank so that they allow you without any problem to remit your funds. You just need to note that no, this person has got a property that is being leased out and they want to take money back to Australia. That can be done. So you can formalize that transaction. And also, I think foreign currency that is held in individuals, FCAs. When you go back to Zimbabwe, everyone has got a credit card in foreign currency. You know, we call those ones individual FCAs, and they are free funds. So you are not forced to change those free funds. You still continue during the monocurrency period because you want to go out and spend your money in US dollars. So that is also going to be allowed.
Now, beyond the investment pitch, we also saw efforts to deepen cultural and generational ties, such as the approval of the My Roots, My Pride tour and the appointment of youth ambassadors. This, of course, facilitated by a Zimbabwean language school based in Sydney, LandDentity. By engaging the diaspora where they reside, the Zimbabwean delegation and government sought to move from abstract policy to a concrete partnership, focusing on sectors where diaspora networks can provide both capital and market expertise.
Done it all there. And before I get into what I want to share with these people, let me say there, you will become our tourism ambassador for 2026 in Australia. Wow. Right? And there, we'll find your trip to Zimbabwe. And all the places that we think are of attraction, doing activities that we think are of attraction to your markets in Australia. How's that? Thank you, my future minister. So I'm taking this out to give you. Now you can go and change the stage you want to change. For your performance. I needed you before the outreach for the performance.
School, which was my Year 6 Travel Expo. The Travel Expo is an event my school runs where all Year 6 students get into groups and research a country of their choice. On the day of the expo, students are required to make a store with decorations, props that represent their chosen country. During the day, other students and teachers come and visit the stores. They ask questions and cast votes for their store appearance, effort and knowledge about the country. In the evening, the school community, friends and family all come and visit the stores. They ask questions, taste the heritage food, and cast votes as well. Students need to inspire the audience on why they should visit that country. The objective of the event is that when guests leave your store, they should feel like they have had a taste of your country and want to visit. The country I chose was Zimbabwe, and I chose Zimbabwe because I wanted people to discover the beauty of our country, the vast landscapes, the amazing animals, and the Victoria Falls, obviously. I have visited Zimbabwe 3 times, and I can testify that Zimbabwe is truly a diamond in the rough. This project made me really happy to share with my Aussie community how special Zimbabwe is. I was very inspired and happy to see that people were so curious to learn about Zimbabwe, the culture, and especially the food. One important requirement of the project we had to meet was we had to create a live website. I created the website and uploaded itineraries that each of my friends created. Each student was required to design a 7 to 10 day itinerary for a trip to their chosen country. We put together a cultural courtesy guide, which is a digital brochure including Zimbabwe's traditions, customs, dress, and a few helpful phrases in Shona and Deva to help you get around. So, on your tables, there should be a QR code. And you can scan that, hopefully it's still live. You can scan it and that should take you to the website. Alright, so if you click on the 3 lines, you should be able to see tabs where you can find things like the food in the country, food in Zimbabwe, the itineraries that we created, and the cultural courtesy guide as well. So, once you look through the website, there's also a brochure on your table. I know there's like brochures on the website, but there's also a physical one that you can flip through as well.
I'm sure you guys can see what I'm holding in my hands. So, our Honorable Minister was so impressed, by you guys. She has donated an amount for your school, not only for you to continue the good work that we are doing, but she is so impressed, with what you guys are doing. So here is a gift from Honorable Minister. Thank you so much. I think in the room we can emulate what the minister has started, so that we can support this school.
Donations.
Sorry. Hey,
while you're doing that, it looks like your mic is giving you problems.
All right, here we go. Let's count. 450. I'll put it in my pocket, then I'll see them now. Make sure you give it to.
Now, while the forums generated significant interest and engagement, the success of these initiatives relies on the Zimbabwe government's ability to address concerns raised during the question and answer sessions. Participants were not shy about voicing the structural hurdles that have historically deterred investment in the country, and the feedback was consistent. While interest was high, with well over 700 delegates taking part in the two-day event, the practical execution remains sensitive to issues like land registration, speed, the ease of doing business, and the efficiency of local councils and authorities. If these bureaucratic obstacles are not systematically removed or addressed, the interest displayed in Sydney and Melbourne will, of course, struggle to materialize into lasting projects. It is a simple equation. The policy framework exists, but its effectiveness depends on entirely the transparency and efficiency of its implementation.
Thank you. Thank you, MC. My name is Mildred. I'm from Brisbane. My family, we are into tourism. We've got hunting safaris in Zimbabwe. My first question is about the campfire programs, which were partially abandoned by lack of funding. So my question is, how can Zimbabweans in the diaspora partner with local communities to revive and strengthen the campfire programs through investment, skills, and tourism? That's the first one. The second one is directed to Mrs. Kudita. She mentioned about the roads infrastructure. In my home area in Urungwe, and she also mentioned about the Binga Beach. We are along the Karoi Binga Road, which was commissioned in 1990. And from 1990, the road has been constructed for up to 72 kilometers. And from my home area, it's about 180 kilometers to Binga Beach, but it's not accessible. So are there any plans that the Karoi Binga Road is going to be constructed so that we can cut the distance by probably 200 to 300 kilometers from Harare? And the next one, last one, sorry.
So the first one about the campfire partnership. Who would like to answer that?
Thank you very much. So I'll answer both because they are policy issues. Yeah. Alice just do marketing and promotion. So she was just showing you what the government has done or is doing rather currently. Constructing roads for accessibility, for trade and accessibility for tourism in the process. Tourism is a trade as well. Let me say there's actually a huge program around refurbishment, resuscitation and reconstruction of roads across the country. Some who have been recently home, I'm sure even in Harare, which is not the responsibility of government, but of councils, but the government is doing so. Anyway. So The problem is we are using our own resources in terms of money to do all these projects. Poto idoko zvinoda kuitwa zvakawanda. That's why President is always using brick by brick, stone upon stone. So he started by Bed Bridge Churundu Road. Why? Because we have the Africa Free Trade that is open from South Africa all the way to the top of Africa, and Zimbabwe is at the center of it. So it's more about trade. And then the process is Rhetoric, that I'm hoping away from. However, we made a lot of noise last year because we are hosting World Cup 2027 for cricket with South Africa and Namibia. So as tourism, as you can see, we are number 3 contributor to the GDP, but manufacturing is surpassing us. I'm sure this year they did because of Manise. We are now the largest producer of steel in Africa for Manise. We have another, it's a new Cisco steel. So now we are the largest producer of steel and the largest exporter of that. So it's more about trade. President navamutuli vanoongorora kutoisa mari kupi kunodzosa mari nekudi nekukasira. So usually it's mining and other manufacturing and other sectors, but also tourism. But we made our noise and say we are hosting World Cup cricket. To put out domestic tourism, we want to promote our domestic tourism, so people should drive to Victoria Falls. So we managed to twist the Ministry of Transport. This is hence there's a bit of progress. I always want to speak the truth. Don't know what I will pay. So can I tell you Dorota? And as people who are representing you, and the Takash period of Shandra, that's the policy of our president. That road, Bulawayo Victoria Falls, has been a big fight for us, and now we are happy. Isusu is Minister of Tourism, because it wasn't a priority because of the Harare, the Bed Bridge to road. Now they've started, and someone asked me about it. Slowly. Yeah, padoko, and we're expecting that by 2028 that road will be done. I was pushing very hard that it would be done by 27 when the World Cup would be coming. Realities and then we want our